Scott DeVore.
Yo.
This is DeVore Live. We are in mid-May, man. May 14th, 2025. Rocking the new DeVore Capital merch.
Mm-hmm.
We got these hats from one of our favorite vendors, the Printing Well. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
But DeVore Live is all things Jacksonville real estate, business, and life. I got Ethnin, Etude, Famin, Moon
Yes,
Man.
sir.
Moon Man was out. No, Moon Man didn't come out.
Yeah, he didn't come out last
Moon Man
night.
came out a week and a couple days ago.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
We thought he's going to come out on Monday.
Yeah.
And we got, Will Reed is back.
What's up, man?
I missed you last week.
Did you? You
Yeah,
didn't text
a
me?
Yeah,
whole
we
lot.
we definitely
Nah,
missed
because
you.
all this work started piling up. I'm like, man, I wish Will was here. But you were out on a family cruise.
We were. We had a good time.
Yeah.
Had a good time.
Have you done family cruises?
We have.
Okay.
This
So you guys are pros.
This is probably fourth or fifth one that we've been on.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
You know, we've been married for 16 years this year, so.
You getting paid too much?
No, we got we go discounts. So,
Okay.
Yeah, we go discounts. So I would like to go to the premium ships. So we might have to talk about that later.
It's not one of those cruises where fights always break out and everything, because I've been seeing a lot of those.
Not as severe as what you've seen maybe trending on social media, but the last night, so there's a little kids club for the kids, and we picked the kids up, and the arcade is next to the kids club, and my 10-year-old was like, "Daddy, there was a fight." I'm like, really? Like in the kids club? And she's like, no, it was next door. It was the teenagers had a little altercation, and security had to come. And the daughter's like, what do they do? And I was like, well, they put him in jail, on the boat. And I'm like, oh yeah, they got little cells down there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but glad you're back, man. We got a few things to get through, but the first thing I want to talk about, Jags new scheduled 2025 season is out. You guys see the big games. I know we got Chiefs at home, right?
Yeah. My only thing is with the big games, I feel like it's always the Tennessee Titans because they're our biggest rival, I think.
Yeah, but man, we got Chiefs, man. Maybe Taylor Swift will come. Does she still go to the games? I don't even know.
She does.
Away games or just the home games?
I think it's just home, but I'll probably have to do some research on that.
Yeah, she don't want to come to our old stadium.
Yeah, for sure.
She'll want to come, man, in 3 years when that $1.4 billion investment's done.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, she's going to need full-on air conditioning. That blue tarp we're going to throw on the top of that thing ain't going to be enough.
Yeah, but what are the key games this year? We got, obviously, Jags always play that game in London.
Yep.
Do we know who's the opponent for that game?
Man, I'm just so
I don't know. It's on here somewhere.
Is it the Rams?
I don't know. We probably should have looked into the details a little
sure.
bit more if we're going DeVore live. But
yeah, but I mean, with the schedule and everybody gets hyped up, this game's coming. Every week is the big game.
Yeah.
And I think if you were to ask the team, you ask the coaches, players, like, this is our focus right now. Is what are we preparing for this week? What are we preparing? And I think that's where they're going to go into the season, because you start looking ahead. That's when you start making mistakes.
yeah, I mean, a lot of excitement, just with the draft and Travis Hunter coming in. I know they gave up some of the future to bring that in, but man, the city's still just excited about Travis Hunter. On Sunday night, did you see that? I think when Shaq was in town, did you know DJ Diesel was in town?
I did not
until
after the fact.
Yeah, so Shaquille O'Neal, DJ Diesel, he was in town. He was DJing right next door at Decca Live.
Okay.
And I heard that he was rocking a Travis Hunter jersey. Is that true?
What?
Yeah, I don't know if that was that or I just made
That's
that
cool,
up.
though.
Yeah,
If
if
it
we
was.
did, I don't know. Travis Hunter or Shaq, we're putting out false information. We apologize, but
And it is the Rams that they're playing internationally.
it is the Rams. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a great game.
Very good game.
But man, I brought up Decca because that place has been booming,
Bro.
and there's another venue opening up in 5 Points called Five.
Yep.
And it's all caps, so when it's spelled in all caps, it's gonna be
It's
gonna
lit.
be fire. But
I'll be turned up.
But that's a great venue that is, them and Decca is going to be competing. But so the old Sunray Theater, I think, is what it used to be, built in 1927 originally.
How many miles apart do you think there are? What, 5 miles? It's close.
From here, I don't know. Let me just put it in my Google Maps real quick. Yeah, it's probably about 3 miles.
Yeah.
Not even, no. It's probably less than 2 miles.
Yeah, I mean, because it's right over the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 5 is opening up. I know that Holvey, one of our favorite Christian hip-hop guys, he was actually supposed to come and do that venue, but the construction, as construction does, unfortunately, at times it got delayed.
Yeah.
So he went over to Decca to do his show. But, the thing about when Shaq did that venue, Decca, when he DJ'd, the crazy thing is, like, we had back-to-back nights in Jacksonville with celebrity DJs. So we had Shaq on Sunday night, and then we had yours truly, DJ Scott Free, on Monday night at Murray Hill Theater. How about that, man?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
Celebrity.
He held it down for Young Drew, which is a local hip hop artist.
Yep.
And then Gracie Binion, which is up and coming, and then Bodie, which, if I'm not mistaken, I always get it. It's not American Idol, but it was The Voice or American Idol. It was one of the two. He was a contestant.
Oh, he was.
That's what made him famous.
Okay.
Tashina, was it she's off mic, but was that American Idol or?
I don't know. I
I should
guess
know.
we should
We
fact check.
yeah, we
that.
need to fact check
man.
that. But yeah, that's
man,
how he
you
got.
bring the
that's how
data
he
out,
blew up,
man.
for sure.
Okay. Well, that's awesome because he has probably one of my favorite songs, R.I.P. Why don't
Okay.
you do the hook real quick, and he did that remix with Futuristic.
You don't want me to do no
Bro,
hook.
you got that deep, you got that soulful voice.
Not even.
Come on, man. You know the lyrics.
No.
Oh man, no, it's a great song. I love that song. He has many versions of it. And he got his regular version. He does the acoustical version with the guitar. Then he has the hip hop mix version with Futuristic. So that was on my. I use Tidal to stream my music, and so that was in my Christian rap, playlist. I'm like, man, this song is. Oh, this is the same guy. This is the Bodie guy who's coming to town. But yeah, man, I was there Monday night for a Monday show. It was a pretty good turnout. There were well over 100 people there.
Yeah.
For a early week show, not the weekend, and. I would say, not to toot my own horn, but, man, I killed the opening DJ set when doors opened to when Drew performed.
He had some bangers for sure, 100%. You mixed well. Very good, very good.
Okay, I appreciate that.
For sure it was.
But Moon Man didn't come out.
Yeah.
I thought you went home to grab the fit.
Two things. One, I had the helmet in my car, but I left the office late, so I would have been late coming to the venue. So I just went to the thrift store and got like a shirt, and it's so I didn't, because I was sweating all day. I was like, man, I didn't want to go in there and be, and so so I went to the thrift store right down the road and went straight to the venue. So
you went to the thrift store to buy used dirty clothes.
Used dirty clothes is, first of all, it's crazy,
and then
it's usually washed.
And took your chance.
To my chance,
and
for
that
sure.
was okay.
Yeah, because I'd rather be at the venue on time and be there for you guys versus being late and then looking good. So,
gotcha.
A bro move for sure.
Yeah. So, we got all these great venues. And then even just the bigger venues, the Arena, Daly's Place, they just bring bangers into Jacksonville.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
the thing. Like, people sleep on this city.
Yeah.
But they're always bringing in big names.
Jazz Festival is about to start. If it's not this weekend, it's next weekend. The Jazz Festival, I think it has 3 different venues. Man, it's going to be off the chain. So, yeah, I'm looking at going to one of them just to hang out.
Yeah,
and
they
chill.
normally set up right over here. Like, we can actually see it from our vantage point. So they bring in a lot of concerts for sure. So, yeah, man, we're gonna get into our stories.
Yeah.
We got a interesting thing happening, and this really isn't a surprise, but we got an article here related to homeowners insurance. A new deal breaker is derailing some home sales. Real estate agents across the U.S. are facing growing challenges closing home sales due to rising homeowners insurance costs, particularly in high-risk states like Florida and also California, where natural disasters have led insurers to raise rates or pull out entirely. A recent Redfin survey highlights that nearly half of agents report increased insurance-related issues during transactions, with many buyers struggling to afford coverage or walking away from deals, while homeowners nationwide are experiencing steep premium hikes and reduced coverage options amid worsening climate risk. So, Florida, we get premium increases every single year. So this isn't news to us, but before, when you go up, 25, 50%, if your policy goes from, $700 a year to $1,400, you're like, okay, yeah, that's a significant chunk, but you spread that over 12 months, but then you increase 50% year over year. So what you're 5 years ago when you're paying $700 a year or $800 a year premium to now you're paying $3,500 per year.
Right.
That's a huge difference. I mean, that's like a car payment type of thing that you're bringing into the household. So what do you think about this, Will? How this is affecting just the real estate market in general?
Well, I think you hit it on the head when you say, like, it's not a surprise. So I'm confused as to why real estate agents are not providing a high level of service to their clients. Because you should not get to that kind of like that pre-close stage where everything's going back through underwriting and then now you don't qualify for the loan, right? Because we know that it's going to be higher. You can get quotes ahead of time. You can look at it ahead of time. And one of the other factors, like we talk about affordability, right? And homeowners insurance is one of the pieces of affordability. Mm-hmm. Now, and like people do, especially here in America, when you get that pre-approval for $500,000, you go look for $520,000, right? So you're already stretching what you can afford.
Yeah.
And all of the home calculators, and I've looked at a lot of them lately, Zillow is still using $1,200 a year for homeowners insurance. Yeah, like, and most of them are. They haven't been updated, right? So you got to adjust those numbers a little bit. And when you're talking to your lender to see what that pre-approval is looking like, if you're paying $2,000 a year right now, you might want to go ahead and just say, okay, if it is $4,000 a year, or $4,500 a year, or call your provider, call your insurance agent and say, hey, I'm looking at moving here. Can you give me an estimate as to what you think that homeowners is going to be? And then factor that in. So now you have a real number of what you can go into the marketplace and look for, right? And every real estate agent who is working with a buyer should be having that conversation.
Yeah.
So there are no surprises. You know, like, well, why didn't you tell me? Well, start telling them. And yes, it's a difficult conversation. I had a conversation with an agent the other day, and home's listed for like $980,000, right? It's a beautiful home. It's a little old, a little dated. And I said, what do you think about the price? Do you think it's listed right? And the professional said, well, I think it's too high, and I think the owner is starting to realize that. Why did you list it too high? Like, that is your job to help them price it properly. And if you're putting it on the market too high, you know it's too high. You're never going to sell it. So you're not doing your job as a sales professional, right? Because that's what real estate agents are sales professionals. So it's a part of the whole thing, right? We know it's going to be higher. We know the taxes are going up. There's another thing that's going on right now. Like, affordability is an issue. So we have to take all of those things into account while we are taking the buyer from that initial sit down. You know, do you want to hire me or not? If you do, I'm going to have to tell you the truth. And part of that truth is your home insurance is going to be more expensive than you've probably ever paid.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, when I just bought a house recently, and surprisingly, my quote was low, and that's because it was new construction.
Mm-hmm.
So the carrier knew, okay, they're not going to need a new roof or any of these issues and all that. So not everyone could buy new construction. But the good thing is, I know DeSantis has really been trying to get more carriers back into the state of Florida to create competition, to lower prices. A family member of mine who was with Citizens, which is the state-funded insurance company. Citizens actually told them that they were giving them two other providers that will quote them. They actually had the quote in the letter that I looked at, which is pretty good, and it was actually a pretty decent rate.
Yep.
So we definitely need to get more carriers in the state. I know DeSantis, he's definitely a very good governor when it comes to that regard, thinking about homeowners. Yeah. But I know that the thing that in the survey that we mentioned is 75% of people in the survey said that they're anticipating rate hikes in the future. Well, yeah, I mean that's everything
every year. That's, every year. Also not a surprise, but I think you also hit another point when you talk about new construction, right? New construction is so much more affordable than an existing home right now. So if you're looking to buy your next home, new construction might need to move to the top of that list. The national average for the interest rate on a 30-year note was 6.1, right? Existing is 6.8, 6.9. So because you got builder buybacks and different things like that, and it's definitely something to look at, because you actually might be able to buy more of a house and stretch that DTI a little higher, because the insurance is going to be lower, the interest rate is going to be lower. So instead of buying new at $550, you might be able to buy new at $625 and get something brand new that and it'd be cheaper than a competing neighborhood across the street. It's always something to look at. Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to transition into DeVore Capital and our roofing services and our real estate services. We sponsor this podcast, DeVore Live, DeVore Capital Group, multi-service construction real estate development company. We're like the one place for all your asset enhancements. That's bringing up an old tagline that we used to have. We call it the triple threat advantage that we have here. So we're a licensed real estate brokerage, we're a licensed general contractor, a licensed roofing contractor. I want to kind of transition this to kind of an open discussion of why this triple threat advantage that we have is a game changer in the industry. Not trying to say that our approach and our methodology is the best thing since sliced bread, but we're definitely differentiate ourselves from the competition out there. You know, we're not only just a roofer, we're not only just a real estate company, we're not only just a contractor. You know,
Sure.
we're all three under one umbrella. We have many services, you know, roofing being like one of our primary verticals that we deal with. But let's talk a little bit about, you know, just what that triple threat advantage, you know, offers to our clients that you know that want to work with us.
Sure. Well, it's most real estate agents, they've just helped with transactions. They've came from another industry. They wanted to start a career in real estate sales, which is amazing, but they don't have any construction experience, right? So if you are buying a new construction home or an existing home, if your agent also has construction experience, they can help you look for and identify potential problems, issues, you know, and most agents can't do that. And that's one thing that we have. Being a licensed roofing contractor, we know what a good roof looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
we know what a bad roof looks like. So, you know, just as a company and as me personally, as an agent, I help with our construction. I help with our real estate. I've installed roofs. I don't like it, but it's
You've rebuilt houses. I mean, you've
Yeah.
touched everything.
I've touched everything. So like I can walk into a house. I just did it yesterday. I walked through, you know, an investor wants to do a rehab for a long-term rental here in Jacksonville, and I can look at it and say, okay, rent's going to be X, your rehab cost is going to be Y, and okay, it makes a good deal. And I can only do that because I know, because I've been involved in that process from start to finish on, you know, hundreds of homes in the last 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and not knocking, you know, the agent who drives a Volkswagen Beetle convertible, wearing high heels. Not that she doesn't know construction, and she's your agent, but having somebody who has the, you know, the expert knowledge. To not just give you the data, the comps that, you know, that's all as equally important as its real estate transaction,
100%.
but can look at, you know, the home, the roof, the exterior, and get, you know, not that we're, you know, home inspectors by any means, but, you know, we have the licensure, we have the expert opinion that we can provide that can, you know, you know, give you the data as a seller or even a buyer if we represent the buyer of the key things that, you know, another agent's not going to tell you to help you, you know, get this transaction so you win the most out of it.
Well, it's funny when you mentioned the home inspection. We're not home inspections, but when you read every home inspection report that you've ever come across and there is a problem that is identified, what does it say? Consult a licensed contractor.
Right.
Right. So, yes, you need them. They're mandatory. The vast majority of most loan products do require the home inspection to be done before it will close and all of those things. But any problem that's identified is contact a licensed contractor, and that's what we are. General contractor and a roofing contractor, and if we need electricians, if we need plumbers, then if we need HVAC tech, like we have all of that at our disposal because we work with them because we are a general contractor. And again, not to knock, you know, the other brokerages because they do provide a lot of value to their clients, but they have to kind of outsource that to another level because they don't have any of those licenses. They're just a brokerage.
Yeah, absolutely. E, what do you think about that? You like the triple threat advantage? You know, that's a basketball phraseology, the triple threat.
No, for sure. Matt, one thing obviously stepping into the space, coming from my world, has been a unique experience because every conversation you have, there's a different level to it. Obviously, it's all construction, it's all building something, but to have the different nuances in each space, but then collectively, you know, I love our problem solving. Because we have so many different things, when you have a problem, you have people that have different experiences that can bring. And problem solving, I think, is a little bit more simple, more easier, because you have a lot of these people from different venues, different walks of life with the different experiences. To me, one of the things I love is the reps that everyone has had. And so I remember when we go to lunch, I ask you questions, and man, boom, 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 boom. I'm talking to Will about real estate, even though sometimes, like, I'm like, man, all right, I don't know all those numbers, but like he's because of the reps that he's gotten. And so one of the things that I think is a blessing to have is an organization that not only does these things, but have reps and it brings a level of understanding with the expertise. And it's just not just, oh, we want to get you on the sale, but this is what we've been doing and this is what we're going to do. And this is how you can partner with us.
Yeah. Here's what I would say just from personal experience. When I go out networking, which I do pretty regularly, and I, introduce myself, give my little elevator pitch, and, depending on the group I'm presenting or, introducing myself to. When I mention I'm a licensed real estate broker and a general contractor and roofing contractor, like I get a lot of, excitement around that. And I have so many conversations because there's not that many organizations that are those things.
Right.
So most people who are working with a real estate person, they just don't know that, that like there's people. It's almost like the HGTV show Property Brothers, where you got Drew and Scott.
Oh, yeah.
One's the contractor, one's the real estate guy. We're like both. We're like this hybrid that does both, and we excel at both. So we just we represent traditional homeowners for buy sell transactions, but we also work with a lot of real estate investors, the developers, with that. So just having that expert knowledge. So even a traditional homeowner might not be thinking with an investor mind, but just us being able to give detail that to that person. And I'll give you a really good example why that could be important. I live in St. Johns County, and my old home I turned into a rental, and the rental market is so strong that the cash flow on it is pretty significant. Where that a seller in St. Johns County might not be thinking about turning their home into a rental; they just want to sell it.
Right.
But when we can present data like, hey, I know you want to sell because you're looking to trade up to a bigger home or whatever the situation is. But let me just give you some data on if there was ever an opportunity for you to become a landlord, a real estate investor, you're locked this low rate in, 30 years at like 2.5%. Your cash flow would be this. If you don't have to sell, this is what you get for rental. If you need the cash to buy a new home, maybe you can just do some type of financing to take some equity out to use a down payment. So it may not be what the seller wants, but just us being able to provide that data, it's a level of service that a regular agent who doesn't have the investor background, the construction background that we do, that they're not getting that.
Right. Yeah, because I've had that conversation with many people. It's like you can take $40,000 in equity at your close today, or you can take $1,200, $1,500 a month cash flow for the next 20 years. What do you want? Like, it's just math, The tax benefits to holding on to a property is huge too. So there's definitely it's good to be able to have that knowledge and to have those conversations with people, because it's not always just cut and dry. Well, I want a new house, so I got to sell this one. It's not always that way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. DeVore Capital Group, DCRE, is our real estate brokerage. You can look us up at thedcre.com or DeVoreCapital.com for more information. Let's transition to a topic that I've been really excited about this topic, especially coming off of a conference we went to at Mar-a-Lago called Sales Leadership Summit with Bet David Consulting, Patrick Bet David's group. It was a very elite, exclusive conference that was solely based on sales leadership. We took 10 people from the organization there. Will was there, myself, and a lot of our sales leaders. And so heading into that, this wasn't kind of the newest shift in my mindset, but I was really focusing on sales before branding. Sales is everything. Sales is king. So this is our second year going to that particular conference, 2 years in a row at Mar-a-Lago. So I'm going to have an open discussion with you guys, and we're going to call this the sale before the scale. Why sales must come before branding, automation, or expansion. And I want to tee this off, just by me just throwing this out there. Business owner, everything revolves around revenue. I think of sales as oxygen, right? Sales is oxygen, where nothing moves without revenue. We don't do a thing. Like when I take this quote from BizDoc. I love how he says it. We have to pay the company first so that the company can pay us. And the way that we pay the company is by bringing in sales, by bringing revenue in the door. So the topic is the sale before the scale. sales before branding. Obviously, we got our branding expert, with us. Ethan is our director of media and marketing at DeVore Capital. But man, let's just put this out there and let's talk on this topic.
Yeah, we're gonna let E go first.
Yeah,
No,
let's
I
say
go
yeah.
first.
I'm gonna let you go first.
No, let me rebuttal. I'm chilling. Y'all please go first.
Let's use Coca-Cola for an example. Okay, everybody knows Coca-Cola, right? Nationwide brand, billions of dollars in revenue. You know what they still have? They have salespeople that go to their distributors and sell their products all the time. It's a contact, right? Just because you're Coca-Cola doesn't mean that they're going to sell your product. You still need salespeople to go make contact, to make, and we're talking, the vendor level, because you know what? Pepsi still exists. Also, a nationwide or a national company or an international company. It's an international brand. So you have to have it, because when you have the sales, when you have the contact, when you have the reps, then you drive your sales, you drive your revenue, and then now you have more oxygen, cash, to invest into your branding, your campaigns, all the things, because it is important. The investor that I met with yesterday, right? She saw our marketing. She liked our mission. She liked our vision. She liked who we were, who she perceived us to be as people. And she had some bad experiences for some other companies. And when she saw us, she's like, let me call, because I was like, how'd you hear about us? So she found us by the branding, by the marketing, right? So I don't think we can take the branding and and the scaling that and just throw it on the shelf and not do it, because there is value to it. But if you don't have the old-fashioned outbound contact, phones, door knocks, going to networking events, meeting people to drive revenue, then you don't have any money to put into the things that are pretty. So, like, it's chicken or the egg, but in this case, sales is king, and it will always be.
For sure. Awesome. Which I agree with everything everyone's saying, but there's also a wrestling that takes place within my soul when it comes to branding, because I think sales is a part of branding, because within branding, you have to ask yourself, okay, what am I giving, like, people? And that's within branding specific, if you want to break it down and get to all, like, the technical terms. But in terms of what we're talking about, making a sale, I think about being the sale. You know what I mean? I think about when it comes to branding specifically, and the reason why I wrestle with it so much is, the products that we're providing are good, but how we provide them and the way we provide them is the only thing that's going to differentiate us from our competitors. Because there's other roofing companies, there are other people putting on roofs, other investors, and other brokerage. But what makes us elite is our brand. What makes us stand head and shoulders is how we present ourselves to the world. Just like Will said, this lady sees us. Man, these people look like people I want to get in bed with, for the lack of a better word. And one of the things that I think is crucial when we talk about branding is why are you smiling back there? One of the things I think is crucial when is branding is, I ultimately think, right, you can make the sale and you can continue to make sales, but I think branding will ultimately, it will scale the sale, if that makes sense. We all need water. And I think sometimes I've been in places where I've been so thirsty that I drank a cup of water that was kind of dirty. I don't know, like I've been, have you ever been there? Like you just, I just need something to drink, and you just. I think what branding does is, I think branding clears the cup to make sure you know what you're drinking, and you know exactly what you're drinking. And I think that's what is so crucial. It's not the fact that, okay, branding specifically like is the water, but no, we're clarifying what you're drinking. So when you do drink it, you know what you're drinking, you know why you're drinking it, and also the effects of after the fact that you drank. And so it's super important. I got a million other things I want to share your points. And
well, I think too. So let's clarify what we are saying. What's the definition of branding
specifically? Yeah.
Right. If we're talking about just the visual, I think that's a different thing.
100%.
The branding starts with day one of a new hire onboarding,
100%.
right? Or it starts with the recruiting process. Like who we are, how we communicate when they come in, how they're trained, what the expectations
100%.
are when they go out, how they represent the organization is brand.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That is brand.
Culture is brand. All of it's brand. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, everything rolls up to brand. And, the point of this discussion, and it's a really good one, is not to discount branding at all. Because obviously branding is what differentiates ourselves. And we were just even talking about it on the triple threat advantage of, part of our brand is we're multi-licensed, we're multi-service. And we have a bunch of core values that, you see on our website that we talk about often in a lot of our leadership meetings and everything. But as, and everyone plays different roles in the company. Yeah. So owner of the company, I'm heavily involved in, with our finance and our accounting department and paying the bills, looking at every check and every dollar that's being spent, every dollar that's coming in. And the thing that helps, not just owners and founders of companies, but everyone, sleep well at night is knowing that the pipeline of our work and our service is just so stacked that for the next 24 months we're good. We're good where we are. We're growing. We were here this last year. Now we're at this place. But when you think about what that pipeline represents, it represents sales, right? And so with our very aggressive mission as a company to scale to $100 million by the end of the decade, that's only going to happen because of sales coming in.
Right.
I know it's in concert with branding and everything, but we're very aggressive. Everyone's bought into the culture, where we want to go. The unity is extremely strong, but for hitting that goal, that big, hairy, audacious goal that we have, I'm like, okay, just kind of reviewing it, talking with the leaders in the company and like what we need to do. It's almost like we need to 10x sales, the direct marketing of our services and branding. Not that branding takes a back seat that you don't talk to for the next 6 months, but sales needs to be more of importance than building the brand.
Sure.
And so that's my that's kind of my thought process around sales versus branding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think when you build an organization, like you've built an organization and still building an organization, everybody's a salesperson. Mm-hmm. When I came on the team, you didn't hire me as a roofing salesperson. Mm-hmm. I had other roles, other responsibilities. But from January 2025 to date, I've brought in a roof a month. Because I'm talking about the brand, talking about the services. People know who I am. They know what I do. So those leads are going to come in, and that's sales, right? But it's also tied into the social media. It's tied into the you do the podcast and wearing the DeVore Capital shirt. Not necessarily talking about DeVore Capital when I'm doing the podcast. It's like, you get to do that at work. What do y'all do? I like your mission. I like what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Hey, can you come look at my roof? Like, it's so unique in that process. It's like, yeah, man, you don't need a roof, but I can help you sell your house. Yeah, I want to move next year. Okay, cool. Let's work out a plan. It's just so cool.
Yeah, and it's hard because when you're in a service-based industry, I think it's hard to see the two. Because it's all one. Because within branding, there's the non-visual and then there's the visual. Within the non-visual, it's everything that you are talking about. That is actually the non-visual branding. When you say messaging, like when you talk about the actual product, your owningness, like, okay, what makes us different? Like all that actually is within the non-visual. And it's just how that brand appears to the world is what we talk about on the other side of things in terms of visual typography, our visual identity, and all that kind of stuff. And so, to me, it's one and the same. It's definitely chicken or the egg, but obviously you got to drive sales to pay bills, You pay bills, you get better cameras, you get better lights, you get all that kind of stuff for the visual side of things. And one of the things that I would like to say specifically about our brand and what we're building here is, you know, it's hard to quantify and it's hard to see. But everywhere I go, man, people know who we are. And it's hard because sometimes you just don't know who's on the other side of the lens or who's watching or whatever. And every time people are like, man, it just seems like y'all do everything. I'm like, it just seems like y'all are all over the place. And people are constantly in my DMs like, man, dude, where y'all at? Where y'all going? What y'all doing? Yeah. And you know, and we have another service we're about to launch within DeVore Media. But one of the things, you know, we've been doing music videos and stuff for artists in the city. And one of the things that has been cool is everyone's seen these music videos and they're like, man, dude, dude, how much? How can? And so it's like, because we put in the work, because we worked hard, we offered the service, people are, you know, knocking on the door saying, hey, man, I want to be a part of that, or making you come and, you know, do something with us. And so it's super cool. And I can't wait to see what it becomes in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So the topic was the sale before the scale, right? So scaling is what's going to take us to that big goal of $100 million 100%. By the end of the decade. So to go from sale to scale, it's systems, right? So one of the systems that we are constantly working on perfecting is lead flow, inbound lead. And obviously that is a subset of marketing within branding. So you got all these things that are related, not exactly the same, but you know, they're like advertising, marketing, branding, media, digital marketing. We have people who outbound get sales from going to neighborhoods, knocking on doors for business. So there's all these things. So one of the things that we've been solving as a company, especially as things have really been changing within just a lot of home services industries, is being our own lead magnet. And we know that is directly a byproduct of good branding. Yeah, for sure. Good branding, image, where we'll just use like an example. We do a lot of consulting work with Bet David Consulting, which is run by PBD, and he has one of the top podcasts in the world. And from that that branding is so good that they get thousands of inbound leads every single month, every single week, because of how they built their reputation in the industry. And so those sales reps for Bet David Consulting, they don't lack leads to call. Right. They're so good. So we know we want to solve that 100%. But it took PBD many years to build that platform to get to it. And so we understand a lot of things when it comes to building our own platform. DeVore Live is a platform that we're here sharing about topics related to Jacksonville, but just business topics in general, especially this particular topic. But at the core of it, it's still sales. We still got to go out there and we got to get contract signed, checks in the bank, so then we can grow and pay. So
because that's what happens with a lot of especially service-based companies. Service-based companies in the modern era in which we live in is they have a service. They have a service that most people need, right? Well, let's take HVAC in Florida, for example, right? That AC breaks, you need a guy, right? But many of those companies, especially the smaller ones, they sit back and they wait for that Facebook post. They think that, oh, my mom knows that I'm an AC, so she's going to tell everybody about it. That's not always necessarily the case. Like, you have to go out, right? No matter what you're selling, whether it's Coca-Cola, roofs, real estate, the more you can go out and tell people about how you want to serve them, right? And I use HVAC because it's stuck in my head because I see it all the time. Sales and service, right? It says it on the side of the truck. No, if you have something to sell someone, how can you serve them? How can you provide the most amount of value to earn their trust, earn their business? And if you do it right, you have a customer and a relationship and maybe even a friend for life. Yeah. If you do it right. And it's sitting back and waiting for the phone to ring, the email to come through, you're going to fail. You're going to fail.
100%.
20 years from now, you get, PBD level, but don't forget, like he was sitting across the table with people, 20 years ago, selling life insurance, in the dining room, doing the presentation, you get to where you want to go by doing the activity today that's going to scale you there, right? And that's sales.
Yeah. Let me throw a name out there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, and prep you guys. Tommy Mello? He's the A1 garage door guy.
Okay.
Really famous. I think he's in Vegas. But garage doors. He's built his empire to like $200 million a year. Garage doors. Like, how many people actually need work on their garage doors? Like every 5 years, or 10 years, your spring breaks in your garage door, and then, it's like a couple $100 service. So the reason why he's so successful, he's built this phenomenal brand. So he's probably one of the best brand builders, when it comes to like home services. And the reason why I throw that out there is, he's definitely someone for us to strive to. We're in a market in Florida where, roofs have to be replaced almost every 15 years, whether it's, you have to because your roof got damaged, or you have to because your insurance carrier is going to drop you because your roof is too old for them to want to keep insuring you and keeping you as a customer. So when I think about, okay, how's Tommy Mello? How did he do that? Obviously, he's been making content. He built a brand. He built a personal brand outside of the garage doors. He franchised his company. His, just the visuals of the brand. It's, everyone recognizes what it is. And, I'm not going to knock his service, but garage doors is a little bit different than like roofing services. Roofing services, and probably 40 of the 50 states requires you to have a state-issued license to do roofs.
Sure.
Where to replace garage doors, you don't have to have any type of specific license. I'm sure California makes you have a garage door license because that's just
probably
the way
too.
Cali rolls. But anyways, just not taken away from that. But the fact that he's been able to build a brand that is as strong as what it is, to do $200 million a year or
that
whatever
kind of
it
a
is.
service is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. So shout out Tommy Mello. Why don't you hit us up, and we'd love to do some content together.
For sure.
All right. Good conversation.
Great combo.
So DeVore Capital, we multi-service. They're the sponsors of this podcast. It's actually brought to you by DeVore Media, which is another one of our services that we are growing like crazy. But it's been a great conversation with you guys. Hopefully next week we'll be back in full force with Wes. I know he's been really busy, just a lot on his plate, especially with a new recruiting class that started this week. So we're putting sales reps in the field every week or so, and we're just growing like crazy. So if you like the content, please tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell
share,
your
comment,
little brother.
subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe. I can't get that out. Subscribe. Subscribe. How many syllables? 2? I don't know. I try to make it 3 syllables.
You like a lot of syllables, so
Yeah.
you're trying to add some extra to it.
Until next time, peace and love, and we'll see you then.